collage of images and scenes that are inspired and based on the true life experiences of all of the performers who are on stage. And you will see that most of them are quite challenging. So the topics they're difficult, they're hard. They're not I mean, the youth did talk a lot about the beauty of living in a multicultural society, but these situations are some of the struggles and the challenges that the community is still facing. And the reason why we do this is because it's a lot easier to focus on the good things, but it's hard sometimes to really explore how the community can still grow and where we still need to learn and what the difficulties are.
I wish the whole world could see this. It was amazing. People have the courage to stand up in front of a whole audience that they don't even know and tell their experiences is totally mind-blowing.
There's something that everyone could learn from it.
I was very proud of all the young people and the work that they shared with us, and I just thought it was astounding.
The Enable Theatre Project is a project run by the Victoria Immigrant and Refugee Center Society, VIRCS, and the aim of the project is to get newcomer youth who are immigrants or refugees to explore their experiences using theatre and music, and then to take those images and scenes that they create and share it with the community to facilitate dialogue on how to create a more welcoming community for newcomers, but also just to deepen the understanding of community members on what it is like to move to a new country when you are a youth. Start out by just doing a lot of trust building exercises and activities, and we do a lot of like games that just kind of get them to loosen up and be creative. And then throughout the 2 or 3 months, our theater facilitator, Yasmin, she guides the group through theater exercises that first build up their theatrical skills, and then she uses those skills to get them to explore their real life experiences. So it could be something like a still image of what your home used to be like before you immigrated, and then what your life looks like here. Or it could be a scene about a situation that you see at school or that you face with your teachers or parents or anything like that. And then the group gives each other feedback, and they act out these scenes together, and they learn about one another, but they also learn how to use the arts to tell a story. And then towards the end, the group will piece together different scenes from the different weeks that they were working together, and they infuse those scenes with music, and they create a cohesive show. And then once that show has been created, they go out into the community and they perform it and sit on the stage after their performances and talk with the audience about what it is that has just happened on stage, and they answer questions and delve into some really interesting dialogue with people in the community.
Feel safe and welcome. So put those pictures or words inside. So do you want to give an example?
Like me out there. Are you guys laughing?
It's like not the jumping part, the sound part out of here.
This kind of work that we do here is going to investigate some hard topics. So the topic of racism and things like bullying and the challenges that some immigrants meet when they come to a new country is going to be explored, and I want you to be brave about that, because that's what we're doing here, right? That's what this whole project is about, and it isn't easy. There's a reason why we do this, and I know that sometimes some topics may be hard for you, and I am going to actually create an environment where it's safe for you to explore these topics. And that's why this group is so important, because we do trust each other and we respect each other enough to explore these topics. Some of them.
So war, torture, gun racism.
What's racism? When you make fun of someone else because they're from a different background, country, or different color, yeah. But if you have a particular concern, please approach me, Danny, or Negin, or Enrique at some point between now until the end of the project, and let us know if there's anything that we can help you with.
We can just be like,
Yeah, like there.
are we on the floor?
It's been an amazingly incredible and enriching process for myself, and I think for the people that were involved in the process. I feel that the first experience has taught me many things that I was able to apply to this year's project. One of them being giving enough time to build trusting relationships amongst the participants, which really helped them connect with each other, and then came all the stories flooding after that. Whilst, in contrast, last year's kids were sort of thrown in, and we only had like 10 sessions to create a performance, and largely the stories came from the coordinator who knew them better than I did. And so I felt like the stories were told by somebody else, and although they created the stories and contributed to the discussions, I felt that the authenticity could have been stronger then, whilst this year I felt that we really dug deep and that the stories emerged as a natural process. It wasn't forced out of anybody. So I feel really proud that we were able to create trust building so thoroughly in the process that by the time the stories came out, they were authentic. They came naturally as a way for the kids to express themselves, but also to say, this is how we want to create social change. These are the stories we want to put in the performance.
Welcome to Where is Home?
So we're just going to tell you a little bit of background information as to who we are and what you're about to experience and what it's all about, where we come from. Where is Home is part of it's run by the Enable project at the Victoria Immigrant and Refugee Center Society. VIRCS has a long history of helping the immigrant and refugee community in Victoria, and Enable is specifically designed to help children and youth.
So I think some of our biggest challenges were that we took on a lot more this year. So we had a media team and a music team as well as a theater team, whereas last year we just had theater. And that was a lot more to juggle, and so we needed to figure out a way to do that smoothly. And then also we started out with about 30 people. So we had no idea that so many youth were wanting to be part of this kind of a project, and that was really inspiring, but it was also a challenge to come down to our core 15, and then because it took us time to get to that core group, we did have to put in a lot more hours at the end.
Thailand, red t-shirt, yellow t-shirt. Children are taught to hate, violence, bloodshed. The government allows it.
(1979). Ayatollah Khomeini, Iranian Revolution. Religious persecution, oppression, imprisonment. Steadfastness.
People power, activism, going against the government. Afraid, threatened, oppressed, the Philippines.
Torture, government control, fleeing Cambodia.
Power, injustice, People's voice. Instability. Peru.
Immigration. Choose to leave. Sorrow. New and better life.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's so unique and amazing about immigrant youth is the depth of experiences, and that's what we show in the first scenes. And they're really tough to see, right? So they talk about violence and bloodshed and government allowing that in Thailand. They talk about Peru, the injustice of the people and revolting against a ruler who's unfair. They talk about having your own religion and being in an environment where your own practice is not accepted and you're persecuted for that. Talking about fleeing from government corruption. So when you look at family members being displaced, you look at the Philippines and there's oppression and you can't be an activist, you can't go against the government. These are huge. I mean, I know that it's hard to picture it, and I can totally relate to that because it's interesting. When we were working on this play after, and I was glued to the television watching the riots and watching how people were revolting against an enormous ruler that I remember from my youth, that you couldn't talk about him. Even in your house, you had to whisper, because if somebody found out, you could be persecuted. So I remember watching those images on television and going to rehearsals, and tears rolled down my cheeks as I saw the first run-through again with those images, and it hit home. I understood. And I had a renewed respect for the kids, for being able to depict those experiences in images. I don't think that I could have done it as an adult, because it's so hard to dig into your heart and really culminate the experience of losing the safety and security of your home, put it in an image. Those kids are amazing, for sure. So thank you for shedding light on that. Does anybody want to say anything about those rough images at the beginning? They're really hard to take for audiences. You know, we're used to this performance now, so it doesn't... Yeah.
They are real experiences that actually happens to us personally. I myself, I did the activism scene where you're being oppressed for speaking out. It happened to my family. My parents are both activists. July 31st, 2006, the government decided to silence us. They targeted my parents as they were driving my sister to school. Ambushed it with machine guns in the car, and my mom passed away that day. And it's real experiences that happen. And it's hard to talk about it, but I love it how it changes. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Does anybody, Nikki, you want to talk about Iranian Revolution scene?
Well, that scene, it didn't happen to me, but it happened to my parents, well, my father and his family. And I think there might be other people in the audience who actually are Baha'is, and so if you are, you know about the situation in Iran and how the government persecutes people who are Baha'is. And so my whole family ended up leaving Iran after the revolution and spread out all over the world as immigrants and as refugees to protect themselves, but in the process lost all their land and had to sort of rebuild their lives from scratch because of it. And to this day, the Baha'i youth can't go to university, and people who are very active in the faith are persecuted, put into prison, martyred often. So, and this is happening now still.
Well, this is like the first time ever I'm sharing this because it's my favorite business, but I think I'm ready now to tell. but it's like same thing happened to me, like it happened to Sam, but instead it was like up in like in the war. The police, they like took like my dad, and they thought he was the person that like stole from the store. So as soon as they like saw my dad, they were like, oh, that's the person. So they like shot him in front of me. And then from then on, it's like everywhere, like if I see police, I'll get scared of them, and then I'll like always like try to like go against them, but I can't. But I always like, well, my mom always like, just forget about it. It's a long time. I'm like, Mom, how am I gonna forget about it? It's like in my blood now. Thanks, Mom.
Lots of challenges. I would say the first challenge was working with different mediums. Whilst last year the theater was the center of the show or of the project, and the music came in halfway through the show, halfway through the process, integrated itself to cater to the theater. This year, I felt like music was very separate from the theater at the beginning, and it really alarmed me because I've never worked that way, and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to pull it all together by the end, especially seeing that the kids from the theater process were kind of distracted by the media team doing their film work on the side, the music team being outside, and their discomfort with doing theater. I felt that they felt a little bit alienated maybe, or uncomfortable in their skin and in what they were doing. And some of the things they were sharing, they felt a little, I think I could see that they were feeling a little exposed. Once the music team came to watch, they were like a little shy and not happy to be sharing in front of the other crowd. So at that point I said, okay, we need to stop what's happening here. 3 different pockets of things working separately. We need to bring it all together. And the only way that I've ever worked was to bring music and theater together. So I convinced Enrique, I said, look, we've got to work together here. Everybody does theater, and at some point we're going to pick the people that are ready for music, and they're going to separate. And it also meant that the media team was a little bit compromised in their plans, and I made a decision that we can't have any interruptions. Nobody's going to come into the process while we're working on trust building, and once we've done that part, then we can allow the media team. And to be honest with you, the media team sort of not intimidated me, but sort of disrupted the way that I need things to happen, because they were there with their equipment, they were talking on the side, and the first time that you guys were there, everybody was walking in the middle of the warm-ups, and it was totally different than I'd ever done any theater, and it disrupted the containment, the vision that I had to contain people's abilities and creativities to create this cohesive, focused group. They were already all over the place, bouncing off the walls. So it proved another challenging layer to deal with the media. So that was my journey of dealing with the challenges, I suppose. And there were other things that came in the process. And I suppose you're right, I did overcome all that. But it was tough going through it all. And I suppose what helped me persevere was what I was learning from the kids and what I knew would impact their lives. I mean, they've been through so much. They taught me what it's like to persevere, and I suppose I felt humbled, and I felt like as an adult I had the responsibility to persevere, just to pay respect to their own journeys and their life experiences.
I think also one of the biggest successes that we had was performing more within the school district. So we performed for school principals, and we performed for a lot of school teachers. We had future educators come to a lot of our performances, and we also got to perform at Reynolds High. And just having more of a presence, I think, in the school system where the youth meet a lot of these challenges is so vital. And the conversations were so inspiring and really rich in content. And so I think that was a huge success that we had this year.
You guys, you have no idea. I've been begging for time with the principals, because I've been saying this group is so wonderful and it's your kids, and you have to start listening to what's happening to immigrants when they enter our schools, and how it's not always easy. You have to develop some insights into what the experience is, and I finally got time on the principal's agenda.
Thank you.
And so I was thinking, oh no, they've really got to be good, because if they aren't, the principals are going to be saying, saying, oh man, why did you know, we have so much to do.
Yeah, you never even saw the show before you did all that.
Well, of course I trusted you. And I had all this. Great job, Judy. Great job, Judy. I'm so glad. That was the best thing I've ever done. And so I'm a hero because of you guys.
Incredibly powerful, and I am just in awe of the skill with which you presented that. Very moving, so thank you for that.
What really struck me was the new kid into the country, trying to fit in, and then having to go home and say to his mom, it was great, and just how that must feel for a child that's in a brand new situation. Families just come overseas. There's a lot of stress. Maybe your mom and dad don't speak English that well yet. You're the one that's sort of carrying the load, and you're just trying to make it all seem like it's okay. So that really struck me.
Part where the students were acting as if everything was fine, and yet in the actual fact, the missing of home and family and giving up all of what they gave up from home. And when Canadians